imagine work conditions that are like 4 hours and 135-degree weather. There's no air conditioning. It sounds awful. You know, it's just completely awful. These are the normal conditions of a NASCAR driver. Sitting in a car and going 200 miles per hour while doing this doesn't seem very easy, and it's not. Now, the problem with this is that some people, such as Donovan McNabb, seem to have a problem with calling a NASCAR driver an athlete. Okay, I don't know what Donovan McNabb sees wrong with this, but these conditions are probably worse than are totally worse than any conditions other athletes face. Okay, so today I want to exemplify why NASCAR drivers are serious athletes, and I want to do that by comparing them to the other kind of conditions that other athletes face, such as NFL players and baseball players and those kinds of people. Yeah. So, yeah. First off, some of the conditions that NASCAR drivers face. The inside of the cars are not built for comfort. They are built and designed completely for safety. These drivers, they cannot move their head more than like a 35-degree radius this way or that way. It's completely crazy. The average temperature inside of a car is about 120 degrees, and in summer races this can get even worse. Yeah, it's awful. You should probably stop. Also, there's no air conditioning. There is a form of air conditioning, and this air conditioning sort of works like a cooling headset unit. It takes whatever air the inside of the car is and filters it through something that makes it 30 degrees cooler. So, say it's 135 degrees inside the car, well, their air conditioner is blowing 105-degree air. I mean, that's better than nothing, I guess. Also, something that you probably don't think about is the amount of oxygen that's in the car. The way these cars are built, they're very aerodynamically sound. So the air passing by completely cuts around the car, okay? So this will limit the amount of oxygen that comes into the car because the cars are built to have the air pass around it. So it almost creates an artificial sense of driving like you would drive on top of a mountain almost. Also, these extreme conditions tend to take a major toll on the drivers' bodies. One of the most common questions people ask in NASCAR is, why don't they ever have to pee during a race? Well, the answer is that they sweat all their pee out, in a sense. Dehydration is one of the most common things after a race. I remember watching a race. It was a 1994 Winston 500 in Talladega, and I remember this guy got out of the car, and his foot had third-degree burns on it, and he went straight to the infield care center and was in there overnight for dehydration and pretty much almost died, just because it was 94 degrees and 100% humidity and really hot in that car. That's pretty common too. And one of the last things that most people won't think about, and isn't apparent on all tracks, but on the really high-speed tracks, are the G-forces. G-forces can range in NASCAR from negative 3 Gs to positive 5 Gs, and after positive 8 Gs, humans pass out, and after 3 or 4 Gs, dizziness is very common after a sustained amount of time. So imagine them doing this for 4 hours. So these drivers that do this for 4 hours obviously are conditioned and are not normal humans. Normal people can't just jump into these cars and do these things. So now we know what kind of conditions NASCAR drivers face. Let's look at some of the conditions NFL players face. NFL players only work in temperatures that at maximum are 100 degrees. Okay, so only rarely do practices occur in warmer weather. NFL players aren't doing their sustained activity the whole time. There's a new play every 40 seconds. Most players don't play offense, defense, and special teams. They're only on the field half the game or a part of the game. These NASCAR drivers are going for 4 hours straight, no breaks, other than the occasional caution. And that right there should show why NASCAR drivers have to work harder to do their sport than what NFL players do. And if NFL players are considered athletes, should NASCAR drivers be then? Also, NFL players tend to get the notion that NASCAR people are soft. Well, that's because in the NFL, people hit each other. You know, it's a brutal man sport. Well, in NASCAR, drivers hit walls at 200 miles per hour. I think that's pretty more significant of an impact. Might kill you more than getting punched or getting hit in the shoulder. Also, the weight of the equipment that NASCAR players and whatnot have to use is a big difference. NASCAR drivers control a 3,400-pound car. NFL players use about, well, what is it? I have it written down here. About 10 pounds of pads and a pound ball. Much bigger difference. So what should happen to Donovan McNabb because of his comments? He needs to apologize. And actually, Jimmy Johnson wants to let Donovan McNabb drive his car. So you can go on a social media site, such as Twitter or whatever, and encourage Donovan McNabb to do so. And let's see if Donovan McNabb can really do this, since he's a true athlete and he's a NASCAR driver.